Constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the Republic and its people. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I say,
wait, this is the speech. Why so late?
So like in 5 minutes. अब क्या आया फिर किसी को
कितना झूठ बोल रहे हो?
मैं झूठ बोल रहा हूँ फिर तक कौन सा
वहाँ भाई
क्या नाम?
भाई कौन सा
निकलेंगे सर।
टाइमिंग पे
70 नहीं उससे थोड़ा पहले 7:10
और तुम्हारे 20 मिनट तो पहुंचेंगे।
अभी 7:15 बोलता है फिर 7:10 बोलता है।
It's none of your business, so don't speak.
Why? What wrong did you do? ये इतना क्या है ऐसा? चलो टेक्स्ट लाया क्या? So on that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by whom? Who was there with them? Daughter Janani. And on the podium, Mr. Dekler was. You don't talk now, quiet. Mr. Dekler was first sworn in as second deputy president. Second deputy means third in order. First will be the president, then will be the first deputy, and then will be the second deputy. Then Thabo Becky sworn in as the first deputy, and then it was his turn. So first the junior most, then the second, and then the first the president. I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution. Uphold the constitution means I'll follow the rules of the constitution. And to devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. And then this is the speech that he gave. Okay, this today all of us do by our presence here. Okay, so read it next. Next girl.
today all of us do by our presence here.
You will read.
अच्छा
She's an action.
Okay.
Today all of us do by our presence here. Glory and good to move on liberty out of the experience of the extraordinary human disaster that lasted so long must be grown a society of which all humanity will be sustained.
Read full and I'll explain the entire speech.
We who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take position with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for humanity.
We have at last achieved our political emancipation. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination.
Never, never, and never again shall it be that this three beautiful lands will again experience the oppression of one by another. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Let freedom reign. God bless Africa.
Okay, so I'll explain this part now. Sign हो गया? Everyone else has signed?
Yes.
Keep it over there only, he'll come over. So today all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory. Confer, see, give. Formal word, here it means give. Confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. What is liberty? Where it went? What is liberty? Liberty means freedom. So newborn freedom. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long. Must be, what is he referring to when he says extraordinary? Apartheid, which lasted too long. For how many years? 3 centuries. Must be born a society of which humanity, all humanity will be proud. We who were outlaws not so long ago, see outlaws. Because of its policy of apartheid, many countries had earlier broken off diplomatic relations with South Africa. So, we who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege means rare opportunity, to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. Okay, so he is referring to this freedom as a common victory for peace, for justice, and for human dignity. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. Emancipation, freedom from restriction. We have got our political freedom. We pledge ourselves. Pledge means we take a promise ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation. What is deprivation? Where you're deprived of your rights, where you're not given the rights that you should be getting. Suffering, gender, and other discrimination. Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another, because now that had come to an end. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. What does this mean? That such a glorious achievement will always, the sun will always shine on this achievement. It will always be an example of pride for people. Let freedom reign. Reign means let freedom rule. Reign means rule. God bless Africa. Okay, next para. Now he talks about the scene. There were these South African jets. Then there were people who had, he's happy that all those senior people. He says that those who are bedecked with, those who have those labels, or here you have those, they have those stars, or those senior people. Even they were bowing down and showing him respect. And he's saying that I understand that these same people who are now showing me respect, had it been earlier, they wouldn't have given me this respect, and वो लोग मेरे को जेल में डाल देते थे, मारना चाहते थे and जेल में डाल देते थे. So he's talking about that in this next one. Who's next? We don't know yet.
A few moments later, we all materialized in the law as a spectacular advert of South African jets, helicopters and food carriers floating over the formation over the Union Hills. It was not only a display of import proceedings and military force, but a demonstration of the military's qualities and legitimacy. The new government that had been legally fairly elected. In the moments before the highest judges of the South African Defence Force and police were just elected weapons and medals from ways from by significantly against their right. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years ago, they would have not significantly but arrested. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets that was blue coat of black red and black red green blue and gold of the blue South Africa.
So here there are three things that are spoken about. First is when we all saw the spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and troop carriers. Okay, so they saw, like how here also we have where you have those jets and all flying and showing all their flying skills. So that happened. So first was that. Second was those senior people who were now showing respect, and he's saying that I was not unmindful of the fact. Not unmindful means I was well aware of the fact that these same people who are now showing me respect would otherwise have put me in jail. I wouldn't have got the same amount of respect. And the third part is that chevron of Impala. What is chevron? See on the side it's written a pattern in the shape of a wheel. When they fly, forming that design, that pattern. So Impala jets left a smoke trail of which colors? Black, red, green, blue and gold, which are the colors of the South Africa. हम लोग के इधर होता है तो we just have those three tricolors, right? As per our flag. So here it was which colors? Black, red, green, blue and gold. Okay, next para. Here they are talking about the national anthems. The national anthem that they once despised. Despised means they did not like. They did not like to sing the national anthem of the Africans. So now they would have to learn to sing that, even though whether they like it or not. Then,
On the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed by the sense of history. The first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the Middle Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of South Africa passed up their differences and developed a system of racial domination against the black peoples of their own land. The structurally evil formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies the world has ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century, and my own decade, that system has been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognize the rights and freedoms of everyone, regardless of the color of their skin.
so now he's talking about this time duration. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War. Anglo-Boer War, write down over there, was between 1899 and 1902. Anglo-Boer War, fourth line is mentioned here. Anglo-Boer War, 1899 to 1902. And then the other part is my own birth. So own birth, write down 1980. He was born in 1980. Anglo-Boer War 1899, 1899 to 1902. Anglo-Boer War 1899 to 1902 and before my own birth. So my own birth, write down 1918. He was born in 1918. Okay. So which time period is he talking about? See, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth. So between which years is he talking? 1902 it ended. So means sometime after 1902 and before 1918. Then he was not born himself. Okay? इस period में क्या बोल रहा है वो कि what happened before this? Even the white-skinned people had differences amongst each other. Okay? तो ये time period के बीच में क्या हो गया? वो white-skinned people भी united हो गए. So which means what is going to happen? The harassment of the Africans is going to increase further because वो भी the whites also work together now, correct? So they are going to take out their anger, their vengeance more strongly because the whites are united. Okay, so he's saying now that before few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences. Okay, the white-skinned had no differences then and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned people of their own land. Okay, the structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhumane is the same as inhuman societies the world has ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century, at my own eighth decade as a man, at this time he was 76 years old. Eighth decade means one decade is 10 years. So eighth decade means 80. So he was almost 80 at that time. So he's saying he was 76. So he's saying my eighth decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever. Why? Because now the blacks had their own rights and they were not going to be dominated. And replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all people regardless of the color of their skin. So everyone would get the rights now. तो क्या बता रहा है उसको? सीधा बैठो, सीधा टर्न मत हो. Okay, so then next.
That they had come about and having even sacrificed the founder of my people. People who suffering and courage and never be counted or equal. As I that day, as I have on show many other days that I was simply the son of God.
Read properly. I felt that day as I have on so many
other days that I was simply the son of God who completed patriots who have gone before me. That long and noble life and now began again with me. I was praying that I was not able to thank them that they were not able to see what their country had decided.
So here what is he doing? He is paying his respects to all the freedom fighters of his country and he is saying that I was a result of them or this freedom was an outcome of all the sacrifices that they had done. And second point he is making here is he is saying that I was feeling sorry that I was not able to thank them. Why I was not able to thank them?
They died.
Yes, they were no longer alive, so that's why I was not able to thank them. Okay, next para.
The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from this profound hurt. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sisulu, and Chief Lutulis, the Yusuf Dadus, the Bram Fisher, the Robert Sobukwe's of our times. Men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom, and generosity that their like may never be known again. Perhaps it requires such depth of oppression to create such heights of character.
Underline that line. It requires such depth of oppression to create such heights of character.
My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds.
Okay, here he is making basically 3 points. One, he is saying that he is talking about the negative effect of apartheid. What was the negative effect? That it led to a profound hurt. Underline that, profound hurt. We are still recovering from that profound hurt. Profound means deep, grievous hurt which has been caused. This is a negative thing, right? That we are still in so much pain, we have not been able to recover. Okay? Like if you get one small scratch, you're going to be, you'll heal fast. But if you get a deeper wound, then it takes time to heal. Even after it has healed, it might leave its mark. Then it takes years for that scar or that mark to go. So he's saying just like that, it will take many years for this hurt to get erased. Then he's talking about the positive effect of it. What is he saying? That it has led to the creation of great people like these. जो ये names उसने लिए, वो कौन है? उनके freedom fighters है. Okay. Now, if you see, now one question I'll ask you. यहाँ पे in that picture you can see that their names, right? Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, Chief Yotu, right? But ऊपर जहाँ पे लिखा है, everywhere he has added an S. Why is that so? Hmm? No, he's telling about the sacrifices. Why should he add an S? Respect name.
Such men are
Elaborate. I think you got it. Elaborate.
and the qualities that these men have, they were like one in many. So we use them as S to signify their qualities, specific qualities, like Oliver Tambo's
Use S to specify the qualities. Elaborate that.
and not only them, but other people like them also having the same qualities.
Yes. Huh? Same thing even you intended to say. Yes. So people like them who have the same qualities. Okay. Like इसका example ले Sachin Tendulkar. Common. Huh? So if I have to ask, how many good players like Sachin Tendulkar are there in Mumbai? So, अरे चुप बैठो, कुछ भी ढूंढो अपना बोलो. So I might say, how many Sachin Tendulkars are there in Mumbai? Means how many players like Sachin Tendulkar? तुम लोग क्या विराट पे चले गए? तुम लोग डायरेक्ट अभी क्रिकेट के बारे में मत सोचो, इंग्लिश का बोल रही हूँ. Okay. So he is saying that it created people like Oliver Tambo and Walter Sisulu and all these people, right? And this important line he has said with respect to this, it requires such depth of oppression to create such heights of character. Means, इतना तकलीफ हुआ इसके लिए इतने ग्रेट पर्सनालिटीज ने बर्थ लिया. I don't talk, don't get distracted. Okay, so what does this line mean? So, means the more suffering you have, the more stronger you become, or the stronger people you get. That's what he's saying here. And the third part, he is praising the people of his country. He's saying my country is rich in all sorts of minerals and gems and all, but the most precious thing is my people. Okay, next part.
It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage, time and again. I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing the strength and resilience that defies the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but triumph over it.
Underline this. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it.
The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear.
So what does this mean? It is from these comrades in the struggle. Comrades means colleagues. In the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again I have seen men and women risk and कुछ करना पड़ेगा मेरे को बहुत बातें कर रही हूँ. तो मत समझो ये आवाज नहीं आ रहा है।
अब आवाज
Both
clear
my
है?
ears समझो।
यही नहीं तो
हाँ,
इसलिए तो नहीं आ रहा।
हाँ,
बात की मूड में नहीं आ रही।
Pay attention. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. For an idea means for a cause. So they have given up their lives for the cause of freedom, for emancipation. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking and showing us strength and resilience. See resilience on the side. What is the meaning? The ability to deal with any kind of, yes. So means the strength and the power that defies imagination. Defies imagination means you cannot even imagine, beyond imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. So it is not that you will say, oh, मुझे तो डर लगता ही नहीं है. Absence of fear. That is not real courage. Real courage is कि हाँ मुझे डर लगता है, लेकिन मैंने वो overcome किया है. I have won over that fear. That's what true courage is. Okay, not the absence of fear, but the triumph over. Triumph means what? Yes, victory. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. So if there is somebody who tells you कि नहीं मुझे तो डर लगता ही नहीं है, means he is either he is lying or he is actually a डरपोक. So a person who is actually strong and brave will say, yes, I do get afraid. He will accept it. I do get afraid, but I am trying to overcome that fear. Okay, next para.
No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite.
Underline this. From people to opposites. That full line. That sentence. People must learn to hate and up to opposite.
Even in the immense times in prison when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second. But it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished.
So here what is he saying? That people must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Means when you are born, are you born, aren't you born with love for everybody? Hate is something that you are taught, right? That people of this race, this religion, this caste, this community, this color are not good, right? Those are all prejudices. So he's saying that when you, after you are born, you are taught to hate, right? In that case, if you are taught to hate, you can be taught to love also. In fact, he's saying that teaching someone to love will be easier because love is something that comes naturally to the human heart. Then he's saying even in the grimmest times, grimmest is the worst times in prison. When my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, see, pushed to the last point in our ability to bear pain. Okay, when all the pain and torture was beyond the capacity, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. It can never finish. It will always be there in a person. Okay, next para. So this part understood everything till here. Anyone has any doubts? कुछ छोटा चीज भी होगा तो भी पूछो, no problem. Clear? Okay, next in life, twin obligation.
In life, every man has twin obligation to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children. And he has an obligation to his people, his community, his culture, in a civil and humanized society. Each man able to fulfill those obligations according to his own way, inclinations and abilities. Inclinations and abilities. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of his obligations. In South Africa, a man of color or tempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. In South Africa, a man tried to fulfill his duty to his people was eliminated from his family.
Inevitably, read properly. Don't eat up the words. National. Read properly. Inevitably.
Ripped from his family.
Inevitably, what point?
Inevitably ripped from his family and his home, and he was forced and rebellion to live a trial and extinction of
Repeating of sentences नाश्ता नहीं खाया क्या? पहले words फिर sentence. आदत निकल गया क्या पढ़ने?
I didn't know this took place. My people around my country. But attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband.
Okay, so see now this is important. What are the two obligations? What are the two duties that he is talking about? Who will explain? Anyone who will explain this? क्या बोला ये para? Question is explain this para. Explain this para I'm saying. What obligation? Explain this para starting from in life up to father and a husband. That paragraph. Explain. Explain. Now you are reading. Yes.
He was in a situation in which he was trying he told that he was in a confusion that whose duty he should uphold first because he was sent to the jail. So he told that should I devote myself to my country or to my family to be as a husband and a father. He told that he was in such a situation that he was not able to fulfill both the duties.
Why?
He was sent to the jail.
He was given off.
Kind of correct, but not fully correct. See. क्या करते हो? This time you all have this side. No fights now. Okay. So see, he is saying that every person has two duties, two obligations. One towards his family and the other towards his country. Okay. He is saying that a person in a country like mine, where people are not free, will not be able to perform both those duties and obligations at the same time. For example, if you take our country, India, aren't we able to serve the country also and take care of our families also?
Yes.
Correct? But if you take a country like his where people are discriminated, Say if you want to serve your country, okay, you cannot do anything for your family. Why? Because if you are with your family, then your family is going to be at risk, right? वो लोग तुमको खुद को ही जेल में डालते हैं, तो तुम्हारे family को कैसे छोड़ेंगे? They are not going to spare your family also. So you have to live away from them. And if you think of serving your family, you cannot do anything for your country. You cannot perform both those obligations. Right? He then explained this to you. See, in life, every man has twin obligations. Which are those twin obligations? Obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children. This is one obligation towards your immediate family. And he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. In a civil and humane society, each man has to be able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and ability. Inclination is tendency, natural tendency, what he wants to do. He can choose. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible of a man of my word and color. So means it was impossible for a black person to fulfill both of those obligations. Which were those obligations? Obligations towards family and country. In South Africa, a man of color means a black, who attempted to live as a human being. See the words also that he is using. Who attempted to live as a human being. Because he could not live as a human being, he had to try to live like a human being. Was punished and isolated. Isolated means separated. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people, means to his country, was inevitably ripped from his family and his home. Ripped means he was torn apart from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart. Was forced to live a life like a recluse, like a sannyasi, where you are separate from your family. Okay. हंसते क्या हो, that word I had to use to tell you recluse का क्या है मतलब. So live a life, human being and home and was supposed to live a life apart. This part. A twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion means he had to live a life of secrecy. Twilight क्या रहता पता है? Actually morning, the sun has not risen and you can see some light in the sky. That's twilight. So his existence had to be like that, where he cannot show even that I exist. He might not even be able to live with his own name. So imagine living without an identity, how it must have been. किसी को ना बताना मेरा नाम क्या है, मैं कहाँ से हूँ, मेरे फैमिली में कौन है, क्या है, nothing. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. So he's saying, it's not out of choice that I don't want to serve my family, but I realized that when I have chosen to serve my country, I am automatically not being able to take care of my family and my children and all that. Next paragraph.
I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free in every way that I could live. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear streams that run through my village, free to roast meals under the stars.
Mealies, that is. Mealies is corn, a type of corn.
Meals under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. As long as I obey my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the law of man or God.
What is he saying here? Here he is saying, in my childhood, when I was a child, what I used to do, what does a child do? Either bhagega, khelega, right? So he is saying, at that time I felt that I was free. Free why? Because I am able to move around wherever I want to. The next paragraph he says that then he realized that he was actually not free when he grew up. कि उसको education चाहिए था तो नहीं मिला, job चाहिए था तो नहीं मिला. Okay, next paragraph. It was only when
I began to learn that my forward freedom was an illusion.
What is an illusion?
Appears to be real.
What?
Not.
Imaginary. Yes, it appears to be real, but it's not real. It's imaginary. So then he is saying that it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. Means it was not real. When I felt that I was free, I later realized that I was not free. It was actually just imaginary.
When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedom of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedom of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family. The freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life.
Here, what is he saying? Later, then, as a student, see, it was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. Means, when I grew up, I realized that my freedom had been taken away from me. That is when I wanted it. When you have something, when you don't have something, it's a different thing. But when you have it something, and that thing which belongs to you only is taken away from you, what are you going to do? You will always want to take it back. कि वो मेरा चीज है, मुझे चाहिए वापस. तुमको मेरे परमिशन के बगैर वो चीज लेने का कोई हक नहीं है. So that is when I began to hunger for it. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedom, see, transitory, not permanent, temporary. Freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, means when he grew up a little more, when he was a young man, I yearned for yearn means deep desire, want, strong need for something is a yearning. I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential. Now, if achieving my potential means yes, you are able to do your best, right? So now, if you talk about India, someone might want to be an engineer, someone might want to be a doctor, someone might want to be an artist, someone might want to be a sports person. But you at least have that choice of being able to do what you want to do. But यहाँ पे he realized that I am not able to do what I want to do. I am not able to achieve my true potential. Then of earning my keep, of marrying, having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. That's a basic freedom that he should have. So he realized that I am not even able to get those basic human freedoms that one should be getting. ये समझा part? हाँ? Next question.
But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom in indivisible. The chains of any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all my people were the chains on me.
Hmm.
Last one.
Okay. But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not. Who are brothers and sisters means people who are like me, are not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed. Curtailed means restricted. Here it's written reduced. So curtailed, restricted, not given. But the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when he joined which organization? ANC, African National Congress. And that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self. Dignity means what? Yes, with respect, like your basic human right also they were not able to get. That animated my life. That animated means that ये तुम लोग इधर आओ. हाँ, both of you. उधर तुम लोग का ego चल रहा है कुछ. हाँ? क्या गेम खत्म हुआ या गेम तो खत्म नहीं होगा ना? इधर आओ. कुछ खेल ही नहीं रहे. You want come here? हाँ, okay, interchange your places. What you are playing that? What is that? Oh, ऐसे fingers के साथ क्या?
अरे मैं कुछ खेलने भी चाहिए, कुछ खेल ही नहीं रहे.
पता है मेरे को. और अभी देख तुम लोग को मैं शराफत से तुम लोग को सेपरेट नहीं कर रही हूँ, साथ में बैठने के लिए. हाँ, शराफत. So if listen, I understand जब कोई कुछ कर रहा है कोई कुछ नहीं कर रहा है. Okay, so I understand both of you all are up to something. Don't try to deny that. तुम लोग बोलो कुछ भी कर रहे हैं, मेरे को पता है. तुम लोग वो अपना गेम खेल लो, कुछ कर लो, डिस्ट्रैक्टेड. So मैं शराफत से तुम लोग दोनों को साथ में बैठने दे रही हूँ. तो अगर तुम लोग अपना शराफत रखोगे, I will continue with that. Otherwise, I will also give up on my शराफत. समझा? खेलोगे और?
डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो रहा है.
अभी इसको डिस्क्रिमिनेशन बोला.
कुछ कर ही नहीं रहा.
सच्ची में कुछ नहीं कर रहे.
Keep this side.
मत पढ़ना चाहिए.
दोनों को बोला चलेगा क्या? एकदम अपना बुक लेके आ.
बुक लेकर आया, मेरी बुक में प्रिंटिंग ही अलग किया हो.
मेरा बुक भी वैसा ही.
मेरा बुक वैसा नहीं है, बुक भी वैसा है.
Okay. So that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold man. So because of that, he became strong and bold. That drove a law-abiding attorney. Attorney कौन है? Lawyer. To become a criminal. So did he actually become a criminal? No, but he was a criminal in the eyes of the whites. That turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, right? He couldn't live in his own house, that forced a life-loving man to live a life like a monk. Monk is a sadhu and ascetic, right? So live like a use the what English word did I use? Sannyasi are there. What is the English word that I had used? Ascetic. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Then he says that freedom is indivisible. What does it mean? What is indivisible? Something that cannot be divided. So freedom cannot be divided. If I am not free, means people like me are not free. And if people like me are not free, it means even I am not free. So freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. Okay, next. Last paragraph.
I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow
This
mindedness.
last para, one of you all only explain. I am tired explaining. तुम लोग इधर और explain करो.
And narrow-mindedness. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom. Just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robber of their human.
Robber.
Robber.
You will explain. बोलो. तुम लोग करने वाले हो ना? करो. Who will explain? हाँ तुम लोग दोनों में से करो. ज़्यादा हंसते रहते हो ना? करो बात करते रहते हो. ये दोनों सिर नीचे कर रहा थी. One of you both explain.
हम पता है ना हम कितना एक्सप्लेन करते हैं इंग्लिश में
I knew that the oppressor must be liberated. Liberated means made free. Liberated just as surely as the oppressed. Oppressor कौन है और oppressed कौन है? हाँ, oppressor whites है और oppressed blacks. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. Prejudice का meaning क्या है? Strong dislike without any good reason. Like you generally say that, oh ये ऐसे लोग तो ऐसे ही होते हैं. It's not like that, right? It's your own general opinion without any reason. ना smile क्या कर रहे हो?
आपको भी यहाँ without any reason ही बैठा है.
तुम लोग चुपचाप बैठो.
सही बिजनेस ही नहीं करना सही नहीं रहता.
हाँ. जी ना इधर ये कैमरा को चेंज करके
चेंज करके
पूरा मैं ऑब्जर्व करूँगा. So I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom. So why I am not free? Because I am a prisoner of my own hatred. Just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken away, the oppressed and oppressor alike means both in the same way are robbed of their humanity. Shall I explain that? ना तो तुम करो अभी. I help you with it.
ना पहले करें
Explain in your own words.
फ्रीडम में है तो उनको ज्यादा फ्रीडम मिलती है। और जो ऑपरेट करता है ना वो भी मतलब हेट्रेड के रीजन में मतलब वो जाना चाहते हैं कि हेट्रेड के अंदर मतलब और बाकी क्या है
यही setting. Okay, so we are all mean the person who is oppressing also is a prisoner of hatred. So both should be set free, the oppressed also and the oppressor also. Now, what time is this class?
No. 19 मिनट बचे।
तो मैं फिर पहले उसका
हाँ
नहीं last time I had to give you those figures of speech, remember? There's like snow, fire and lightning.
वो मेरा पिछले
The CBSE results also came now. Yeah, so you had any friends in the rest? Yes. How have they done? Very good. Any of them were in UT?
फिटनेस सीरीज के लिए
That stuff slow. First write down the rhyme scheme. It is A B. Page numbers are first chapter के पास. Letter to God के पास.
हम पूरे पोएम की नहीं है या प्लान रख दिया
पूरा poem. Crow, snow, me, tree, heart, part, moon. So पूरे poem का it is A. And write down the points that I am giving you. On the side, write down. Here, right way. Hemlock tree and crow. Hemlock tree, quick. You can write it in the textbook only on the side, those who have the text. Hemlock tree and crow signify sadness and gloom, just like the poet's mood. Hemlock tree and crow, boys signify sadness and gloom, just like the poet's mood.
Can you repeat?
Hemlock tree and crow, gloom. Hemlock tree and crow signify sadness and gloom, GLOOM, just like the poet's mood. Second point, write down. Inauspicious things can bring joy and happiness too. Hemlock tree and crow signify sadness and gloom, just like the poet's mood. Inauspicious things can bring joy and happiness too. The third point, write down. Accept whichever way nature chooses to bless us. Accept whichever way nature chooses to bless us. Okay, then figures of speech. The dust of snow, metaphor. Okay, dust of snow, metaphor. It refers to dust. It refers to snowflakes. ये text में निकला because of speech always write in the text. Then has given my heart. Circle the H and the H. So that's which figure of speech? Alliteration. Has given my heart, alliteration, and saved some part, SS. Again, that is alliteration. पहले वाला metaphor था, has given my heart, alliteration. And saved some part, alliteration again. Then the way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow. So crow, snow, that is assonance. ASSONANCE.
Crow, snow.
Yes. What is assonance? Repetition of vowel sound. Consonant is alliteration. So इसमें कौन सा vowel sound rhyme हो रहा है? Sound same crow, snow, o sound repeat. The way a crow shook down on me the dust of snow. Crow, snow. Assonance. Okay. Then go to fire and ice. No, rhyme scheme. Rhyme scheme. AB. AA. ABAA. So fire, ice, desire, fire. And the second one also it's ABAA, no? Twice, ice, suffice. 8, great. There's one extra. Write ABAA only. Both can't have different, otherwise we'll have to say three words. In that, yes. But you cannot have two separate words. इसमें वही एक confusion. You cannot have two different rhymes. Write ABAA only. I know. See, actually in that na, hate and great are rhyming. Twice, ice. So A, B, A, B, A. Okay. Figures of speech में first one alliteration, some say. Okay. First sentence and second sentence. Now, you all know one sentence may have two figures of speech also. So इसमें some say the word will end in fire, some say in ice. That is called anaphora. First and second line. Anaphora is repetition of the first part of any sentence. So there are two sentences. Girls, stop talking. There are two sentences starting with the same words, which is some say, some say. So that's anaphora and that's alliteration. Like अगर तुम लोग को एक ही sentence आता है, तो तुम लोग क्या mark करोगे? Alliteration. If you get both, then you can mark it as anaphora. अगर anaphora का MCQ में आता है और option ही नहीं है, तो then an alliteration is there, तो alliteration होगी. हाँ, अगर both है, if both options are there and you have both the sentences, then mark it as anaphora.
What should I mark now? Anaphora
Both. Then favor fire. I hold with those who favor fire. Okay. And next paragraph, the second paragraph, first line में जो है ना perish twice. That is paradox. Paradox means opposite. Okay, like why? How? Perish twice. Something that is ended, can it end two times? No, so it's not possible. So, favor fire is this only alliteration. That's it.
आठ मिनट बाकी है.
ये दे देती हूँ तुम लोग को टाइगर इन द ज़ू एंड गिव यू टुडे एक्सप्लेन नेक्स्ट क्लास. फिगर्स ऑफ स्पीच इसका भी लिख लेते हैं कि आगे बुक्स आउट.
पेज नंबर.
Your please don't ask me page numbers because ये मेरा पुराना book है.
उसमें कौन सा?
In this there are extra chapters. Page numbers will be line scheme 29. क्या है page number? हाँ, okay. Line scheme is A B C D. Then ये भी स्कूल में किया होगा ना?
नहीं किया.
ABC. Then first line, he stops in the
युवराज सिंह.
So first, he write down personification. He refers to the tiger, so tiger is personified. Then third line, pads of velvet quiet, write down metaphor. Third line, metaphor, pads of velvet quiet, metaphor, in brackets write down tiger's paws. Okay, what is metaphor? One thing compared to another. Paws, P-A-W-S. So pads of velvet quiet means the tiger's paws. Then next line, quiet rage. Write down over there oxymoron. O-X-Y M-O-R-O-N. In brackets write adjectives opposite in meaning. Adjectives opposite in meaning. Okay. What opposite in meaning? See, it says quiet rage. So quiet is चुप. Rage is anger. जो हम लोग चुप से connect नहीं करेंगे. They are opposite meaning words, but they convey one meaning. Then that next full para you mark it as imagery. Should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass, all that. And in the second para, fourth line, plumb your pass. Alliteration, P and P. Then next third para, first line. He should be snarling. Snarling, write down onomatopoeia. O-N-O, onomatopoeia. Ono spelling भी M में है. O-N-O-M-A-T-O-P-O-E-I-A. Spelling is like onomatopoeia. But it is pronounced as onomatopoeia. P-O-E-E-I-A. P-O-E-I-A. Onomatopoeia. Okay. Then next line, he is locked in a concrete cell. Concrete cell alliteration. CC. Girls last bench. Okay, so that's alliteration. Again here he will be personification. He is है ना, so that he will be personification. Then behind bars alliteration. Fourth para, second line. Behind bars alliteration. Next line, first line. Next para, first line. He hears alliteration. हाँ वो personification में ही आया मतलब personification. That's it. Next class we'll do the poem.
Thank you.
Rhyme sheet ABC.
बहुत अच्छे से लिखा है. हाँ भाई. मुझे वो नहीं उसका वो साफ करना है.
And textbook सब लोग लेके आना ये वाला. तुम लोग इधर बाय.
And
So let me. I said not to.
इधर से इधर ये भी होता है.